So essentially what Ford's done is that at the end of August, he issued a mandate for all of the universities across Toronto to implement what he calls free speech policies. And what he said specifically is that they model this after the University of Chicago free speech policy, which specifically prohibits what they call ongoing disruptive protests. And of course, what this means is that effectively, it actually does nothing to address free speech, actually quite the opposite. In fact, what it does is it limits the ability of student protesters to mobilize and to protest far-right and fascist speakers who may come to speak on the campus. So effectively, it's actually an attack on our own freedom of speech.
Marco Lagrota is a leading member of Socialist Fightback, a leftist organization on campuses such as George Brown College and Ryerson University.
So Ryerson was one of the first universities to jump on Ford's mandate, and they've been one of the first universities to try and push through a policy modeled after the Ford government's mandate. And actually, the announcement of this was actually hidden from students. So we, the Socialist Fightback Club at Ryerson, didn't find out about the release and discussion and voting on this statement actually until the night before. And actually, it wasn't released by the Senate itself, which was the body voting on this statement. We only got it through a supporter in the movement who notified us that this was being discussed the following evening. So what we did is that we organized a spontaneous protest at a moment's notice. Unfortunately, it wasn't as large as we would have liked, but again, given the circumstances that they had only released it the morning of, it didn't give us very much time to mobilize and to make our voices heard.
During the Ryerson Senate intervention, Fightback finds itself muzzled by the university's administration, which is only interested in arguing that their policy defends free speech in bad faith.
Standing in front of the religious fundamentalists that they've discussed inside, who's to say they wouldn't count that as obstruction?
Well, I don't know, but that actually isn't happening. That's happening on Gould Street.
But it very well could. They're expelling 8 students at York right now for similar reasons.
Well, who's
So
they?
there's precedent.
That's not
The administration. And Ryerson administration is going to do the same thing as York administration.
They haven't done it. They haven't done it.
So after that experience, left with not many answers, we organized a rally on October 18th where over 100 people showed up, and our intervention at the Senate on October 2nd and our rally on October 18th clearly put pressure on the Senate, which then organized the town hall.
The Ryerson Senate, under pressure after shutting out the students during their meeting, threw together a town hall to hear what the students had to say.
Put up my hand, I go up and state that before I talk about the draft statement, I'd like to speak about the Senate and its undemocratic attitude towards the whole process of drafting the statement. And before I could carry on or continue any further, the vice president of Ryerson, the provost, interrupted me and said that this discussion could only include people's comments on the draft statement and that we were not allowed to speak upon anything aside from the draft statement. Soon after, a young lawyer, a young woman who wasn't a student but who was just attending the town hall and who actually only found out about the town hall as she was passing by the building that it was being held in, and she found it interesting and decided she was going to sit down and watch the events unfold. And so she did, and she watched me be denied a platform by 3 people who are either associated with or part of the Senate, not allow a student to speak on the Senate, the very Senate that was actually drafting this statement in the first place. And so she spoke out against the senators and their attitude in stifling my right to speak at this event, especially on a statement on freedom of expression.
The room here, there's a lot of gray heads, not a lot of students, and this policy affects students more than it does professors. So the students deserve to be out here. Students deserve to know about this and to mobilize for it.
Actually, in a presence on campus that is endorsed by these universities, it legitimizes these ideas. It legitimizes these people as being reputable, speaking at reputable universities, academic environments, and it gives them a certain veneer of reputation, of a credibility. And for such ideas that have such hurtful, harmful consequences, violent consequences, it's absolutely unacceptable for students to not be able to protest against this.